Good morning, bon matin. J'aimerais commencer par remercier tous les Canadiens qui suivent les conseils de santé publique et qui restent chez eux pendant cette pandémie. I know that it can be difficult, especially when the weather starts to get nice and the kids are tired of being stuck inside. It can also be extremely difficult for our relatives who are isolated and who cannot receive visitors. This week, Canadians across the country will observe Passover, Holy Week, and Easter, and next Monday, Sikh communities and others will celebrate Vaisakhi. Now, normally these holidays bring Canadians and communities together. This year, we must remain physically apart, but belief in a higher power and purpose keeps faith communities connected, even when we cannot come together in person. Churches, temples, mosques, gurdwaras, local charities, and other community groups are doing a great job looking for new and innovative ways to stay connected and help Canadians get through this crisis. Now, the government has called for a Team Canada approach, and I could not agree more. Les conservateurs font partie de cette équipe depuis le premier jour, offrant des solutions constructives pour aider les Canadiens, comme l'abolition de l'augmentation de la taxe sur le carbone, le remboursement des remises de TPS aux petites entreprises qui l'ont collecté ces 6 derniers mois, et l'augmentation de la transparence et de la responsabilisation. Conservatives have been part of this Team Canada approach since day one, putting forward constructive solutions to help Canadians, like scrapping the carbon tax increase, refunding GST remittances to small and medium-sized businesses, increasing the wage subsidy from 10%, and increasing transparency and accountability. Today, I would like to talk about support for our charitable sector. I know that local charities, community groups, and religious organizations are vital to helping Canadians get through tough times like these. But while the need for their services only continues to increase, the donations that these groups rely on have dramatically declined. Churches haven't been able to hold weekly services, in-person fundraisers and events have been canceled, and many Canadians who normally contribute are no longer in a position to do so. C'est pourquoi les conservateurs pressent le gouvernement de prendre les mesures suivantes. Augmenter temporairement le crédit d'impôt pour dons de bienfaisance pour 2020 et éliminer immédiatement l'impôt sur les gains en capital des dons d'actions d'entreprises privées et de biens immobiliers. Ces changements vont diriger les dons de bienfaisance vers les hôpitaux, les églises, les banques alimentaires et les refuges et vont permettre aux entreprises qui le peuvent de faire plus pour le secteur caritatif. Conservatives are calling on the government to temporarily increase the charitable donation tax credit for 2020 and immediately remove the capital gains tax on charitable donations of private company shares and real estate. Now, these changes would mobilize charitable contributions to hospitals, churches, food banks, and shelters, and allow businesses that are in a position to do so to do more to help charitable giving. When the House returns, I hope the government will implement these recommendations and take steps to increase accountability. It's also imperative that the government release all simulations, projections, data, and modeling that show the potential impact of the pandemic on the health of Canadians and our healthcare system. I want to thank Premier Ford for his leadership in releasing the province of Ontario's projections last Friday. Ontarians, and indeed all Canadians, deserve the truth. Les Canadiens méritent aussi de savoir comment le gouvernement augmente notre capacité à fabriquer des masques, des gants, des respirateurs et d'autres équipements médicaux ici au pays, alors que les chaînes d'approvisionnement mondiales sont perturbées et que les pays luttent pour répondre à leurs propres besoins. Weekly government updates are essential and must include projections for at least the next 6 months. The need for accountability and oversight during this crisis cannot be overstated. Les Canadiens méritent de savoir que le gouvernement fait tout ce qui est possible pour protéger leur santé et leur sécurité et qu'au moment venu, il aura un plan pour remettre notre économie sur pied. Conservatives will continue to put forward constructive solutions and negotiate the next sitting of Parliament in good faith. We expect parliamentary committee meetings to take place by video conference if necessary, and for the government to facilitate regular accountability sessions with the Prime Minister, other ministers, and key officials. The opposition must be allowed to ask questions on behalf of Canadians in order to get the best possible policy decisions for Canadians. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Happy to take your questions.
We will now take questions from the phone. We invite you to ask one question and one follow-up. Operator, please begin.
Thank you. Merci. Please press star 1 at this time if you have a question. S'il vous plaît, appuyez sur étoile 1 maintenant pour poser une question. Notre première question nous vient de Hélène Buzetti du Devoir. À vous la parole, please go ahead.
Oui, bonjour, M. Scheer. Dans votre communiqué de presse ce matin, vous avez l'air de dire que pour vous, un Parlement virtuel n'est pas suffisant. Vous voudriez voir les parlementaires revenir à Ottawa. Alors, pouvez-vous nous clarifier un petit peu ce que vous avez en tête? Comment vous voudriez que les prochaines semaines se déroulent, s'il vous plaît?
Oui. Alors, nous avons déjà montré aux Canadiens qu'on peut avoir des séances, des sessions de Parlement de la Chambre des communes avec un nombre de députés réduit lorsqu'on peut suivre les directions des officiels de santé et en même temps faire notre job, notre responsabilité en personne dans la Chambre. Alors, c'est possible, nous avons déjà montré. Nous croyons que la meilleure place d'avoir le Premier ministre et les autres ministres expliquer leurs décisions et répondre aux questions nécessaires, c'est dans la Chambre des communes. L'idée des séances virtuelles sont toujours intéressantes et nous croyons que c'est un autre élément, un autre outil qu'on peut essayer en contribution quand on parle de la réaction de la crise de COVID-19.
Mais, excusez-moi, juste pour clarifier, donc vous aimeriez que des séances en nombre réduit de députés reprennent quoi, à tous les jours, à toutes les semaines? Comment vous voyez ça?
On va discuter qu'est-ce qui est possible avec l'administration de la Chambre des communes et aussi en négociation avec les autres partis. Je crois que quand on parle de la nécessité d'avoir les séances pour donner le gouvernement les projets de loi qu'ils ont besoin pour envoyer l'aide aux Canadiens, alors, lorsqu'on parle de la réponse à la COVID-19, nous sommes prêts à siéger avec un nombre de députés réduit ou avoir les choses comme les séances virtuelles pour le comité en plénière ou les autres comités. Ça, c'est les choses qu'on appuie. Mais si le gouvernement veut... quand la situation retourne au normal, ça, c'est le moment où la Chambre peut retourner en normal pour le programme de législation du gouvernement.
Merci. Thank you. Following question is from Andrew Lawton from True North. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Good morning, Mr. Scheer. Going back to January, it seems like there's been a lot of conflicting information from public health. Originally, we were told by Dr. Theresa Tam there was no real risk to Canadians. At one point, she was more focused on promoting an anti-racism strategy with coronavirus. And then, of course, we had advice from public health that travel bans were ineffective and would be bad ideas. And this past week and perhaps 2 weeks, there's been confusion about whether masks for just average Canadians going to the grocery stores are important. And I guess the question is, do you have faith in our public health officials at this time?
Well, like many Canadians, I'm always concerned when we're told one thing one week and then something completely different just a few days later. Conservatives were calling for travel restrictions to be put in place from countries where there had been an experience, from countries who had experienced a surge in the number of cases. Of course, the government told us that wasn't necessary, only to do the exact same thing just a few days later. So this is why we believe it's so important to have regular accountability sessions in the House of Commons so that we can find out exactly why decisions are made and why directions are changed in a short period of time. We can hold officials responsible for that, and we can get a better understanding from ministers. So that's why we are pushing for regular accountability and oversight sessions in the House of Commons. That is the best place to hold ministers responsible for their departments and for the actions of the officials who report to them. We believe that it is with extra scrutiny, with peer review, with a better understanding of the thinking that goes on behind the decisions, that we can get the best outcomes for Canadians. And that's part of this Team Canada approach that we are fully cooperative with, that we are excited to be a part of. We believe the best place for that Team Canada approach is in the House of Commons, in the chamber, where ministers can be held accountable for their decisions and they can provide greater clarity as to the government's response to this crisis.
As a follow-up, you've been pushing for a rollback of the carbon tax increase that went into effect just under a week ago. Is that going to be a deal breaker for the Conservatives? Will you block support of government legislation if they don't give you that concession?
Well, we've been outlining a series of policy solutions that we believe the government should be adopting to help Canadians get through this crisis. Obviously, as it relates to the carbon tax, we don't support it in principle at all, but we think that there should be agreement between all parties that now is not the time to take more money out of the economy. Now is not the time to put extra costs on the backs of Canadians who are clearly struggling. In addition to that, we've also called for the GST to be refunded to small and medium-sized businesses who need that cash injection immediately. We've also called for help to the oil and gas sector. We've also called for a better procurement plan, better information sharing between health officials, and so Canadians can be confident that the equipment that they need will be available to them. And today I'm announcing our request that the government increase the tax credit for charitable giving. So these are all being put forward as part of our Team Canada approach, the Conservative Party's contribution to this Team Canada approach. We're hopeful that the government will adopt them all. We're certainly going to be pushing them very hard to incorporate these ideas in their response. So we'll see how the conversations unfold. At the end of the day, we recognize that there's a great deal of need that Canadians have. We want to be a constructive part of the solution to get that help out the door as quickly as we can.
Thank you. Our following question is from Bill Curry from the Globe and Mail. Please go ahead, à vous la parole.
Good morning, Mr. Scheer. Just to follow up when you said we'll see how these conversations unfold. It's been a few days since the Prime Minister said he was going to recall Parliament. We don't have a date for that yet. Friday is Good Friday, so Parliament can't sit then. What are you hearing? Are you getting any indication that Parliament's going to sit this week? Are there talks going on between the government and your party? Can you fill us in on what's been happening?
There are ongoing conversations, and last week I spoke with Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland. I know that our House Leader has been in touch with the Government House Leader as well as House Leaders from other parties as well. I can tell you that from our part there's a spirit of good faith and openness to working together with the government. We're taking them at their word right now that there will be no surprises in their legislation this time. We expect to receive some information as to what they are proposing in the legislation that will be called back to debate and study. So at this time, I don't have a specific date as to what the government intends to, or when the government intends to call us back. But we are willing and able, and we'll be there when the House gets recalled.
And based on these conversations, are you expecting a bill that's only about this wage subsidy, or are there going to be other elements to it, like oil and gas, or some of the issues that you've been talking about?
Well, when the government indicated its desire to have a Team Canada approach, we certainly embraced that idea, and we're hopeful that they take this opportunity to incorporate the good ideas that are coming from all corners, from all aspects of the political conversation in this country. And so we'll see how the conversations unfold. There may be additional steps to be taken. Obviously, every time you bring in a policy change, it requires a lot of preparatory work and planning. Some of the ideas that we've called for are very simple. They can be done immediately. Increasing the limit on charitable giving is not something that needs a new program to deliver. It's just a change in a line in the CRA tax code. Likewise, refunding the GST is something that can be done instantaneously. It doesn't need a new website, doesn't need a program to get money out the door. And that's something that we've heard a lot of feedback from Canadians, is that they're going through this hardship in real time. They're up against deadlines to pay rent, to pay utility bills, and so 6-week lag times in terms of government getting help out the door is not sufficient. That's why we're calling for some of these ideas that can take place instantaneously. But that being said, we'll see how the conversations unfold. We're ready to help support measures that get help out the door very quickly. And as soon as we have a date for when Parliament is recalled, we'll be there to do exactly that.
Thank you. Following question, notre prochaine question de Daniel Thibault, Radio-Canada. À vous la parole, please go ahead.
Bonjour, M. Scheer. La Fédération canadienne des entreprises indépendantes a rendu public un sondage qui questionne l'efficacité de la subvention salariale. On propose, entre autres, de réduire ou d'éliminer le critère de perte de 30 %. Est-ce que, d'après vous, il y a lieu d'aménager ça et de quelle façon ça devrait être fait?
Oui. Alors, nous avons entendu beaucoup des inquiétudes avec le plan pour la subvention des salaires. Le problème le plus grand, c'est le montant de temps qu'il y a pour les petites entreprises d'obtenir les subventions. Ça, c'est numéro un. L'autre, c'est la nécessité de payer les salaires en avant et de faire une application après. Et il y a beaucoup des entreprises qui n'ont aucun revenu ou un revenu très, très, très basé. Et ça va être très, très difficile pour les petites entreprises de payer le salaire parce qu'il n'y a aucune capacité ou une capacité très, très réduite. L'idée d'une perte de revenus avant qu'une entreprise est éligible pour ce programme, nous croyons que c'est nécessaire de montrer un impact pour une entreprise, de montrer un impact négatif de cette crise pour obtenir une subvention. Mais on peut continuer d'écouter les petites entreprises, les propriétaires, d'assurer que le numéro 30 %, est-ce que c'est le bon numéro ou pas? Ça, c'est une autre raison pour laquelle on a besoin de les débats dans la Chambre des communes pour trouver le numéro parfait pour la réponse du gouvernement.
Très bien. Et par ailleurs, j'aimerais vous entendre sur les gens qui sont à la prestation canadienne d'urgence qui est disponible à partir d'aujourd'hui. Vous avez dénoncé, entre autres, le fait que certains travailleurs n'y ont pas accès en raison d'un petit revenu ou parce que c'est ou qu'ultimement ça va les forcer à abandonner complètement le travail s'ils veulent pouvoir percevoir la prestation. Comment est-ce que vous aimeriez que ce soit agencé ou ajusté, ce programme-là? Et par ailleurs, j'aimerais aussi vous entendre, vous avez répondu à ma collègue Hélène tout à l'heure sur la session vous semblez assez convaincu qu'il faut siéger en personne. Est-ce que c'est pas un drôle de message envoyé à la population d'amener des parlementaires ici, même un petit groupe, quand dans les faits, vous demandez aux gens de rester à la maison pour éviter la propagation du virus?
Alors, nous avons montré au gouvernement qu'il y a quelques impacts de leur propre programme qui peut être une barrière aux les gens qui peuvent travailler. Il n'y a aucun bon sens d'avoir il y a des entreprises qui ont besoin de travailleurs. À ce moment, il y a beaucoup de gens qui ont perdu leurs emplois. Alors, d'avoir un programme d'assistance qui permette les travailleurs de répondre aux besoins du marché, c'est important d'avoir la flexibilité. Alors, c'est une autre raison pour laquelle on a besoin de les comités, les parlementaires poser des questions et montrer le gouvernement les problèmes avec leur programme. Quand on parle des séances dans la Chambre des communes, nous avons montré aux Canadiens qu'on peut suivre les directions des officiels de la santé au même temps qu'on fait notre job comme les députés. Il y a des autres législatures partout au Canada qui siègent. Nous avons des députés qui peuvent voyager à Ottawa sans utiliser les vols commerciaux. Nous avons une équipe de députés prêts à coopérer avec le gouvernement. Nous croyons que l'endroit le meilleur pour avoir les sessions de transparence, de responsabilisation, c'est dans la Chambre des communes. So we've already shown to Canadians that we can have a group of members of parliament, a reduced roster, that can follow the directions of public health officials while at the same time fulfilling our responsibilities as parliamentarians. We believe that the best place to have that accountability to ensure that we're getting the best decisions for Canadians is in the House of Commons. Other legislatures around the country are finding ways to maintain sittings to do exactly that. And I'm confident that we can, as it relates to the government's response to the COVID-19 crisis, come up with the agreement of the parties to have a reduced roster of members of parliament representing each of the parties to do their jobs as parliamentarians while at the same time following public health directions. We did it just a couple of weeks ago. We're going to be doing it in a few days, and I'm confident that we can do this going into the future as long as the health directives stay in place.
Merci. Our following question is from Jim Bronskill from the Canadian Press. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Hello, Mr. Scheer. I'm wondering what is the costing of the directives that you've put out today concerning the breaks to charities. Do you have a cost figure that you've put on that?
Well, we know that the existing regime costs the government around $3 billion. So it would depend on what rate what increase they agree to. So, we're calling it for it to be raised. There are some other examples of limits on tax credits that already exist. One is the political contribution tax credit, which is 75%. There's also the model of the super tax credit for first-time charitable donations, which is an additional 25%. So depending on which limit the government agrees to, the costing would depend on that. But the overall cost for charitable giving as it exists right now would be $3 billion. So if depending on how the government responds would depend on the total costing.
Okay, thanks. And there has been some talk of convening Parliament in a virtual way. You've touched on this, but if that's the only way that Parliament can meet, is that acceptable, or is it your position that it's important to try to do this face-to-face in the setting as it happened last time?
Mm-hmm. Well, as you point out, we've already shown that a small number of MPs, a reduced roster of MPs, can get together, fulfill our duties as parliamentarians, provide Canadians with the accountability and scrutiny that leads to better decisions, while at the same time we follow public health directions. So we already know that is possible. When we talk about virtual sittings, if it's in relation to the government's COVID-19 response, to allow for a broader participation of members of Parliament who may not be able to travel to Ottawa, or who may not be part of that reduced roster, in order to ensure a broader participation of members of Parliament. We are supportive of those types of tools to be used in addition to in-person sittings in the House of Commons. Obviously, as it relates to the normal agenda of the House of Commons as it relates to the government's moving its normal agenda through the House of Commons. Of course, these are not normal times, and until we're able to come back and the House of Commons is able to operate normally, we believe that until all members of Parliament are able to do that, we don't believe that now would be the time to try to go back to a normal government legislative agenda. So we are supportive of virtual sittings to be used as an additional tool, but we continue to believe that the best place to have the dynamic exchange between parliamentarians raising concerns on behalf of their constituents, listening to the response from sectors hit hard by this crisis, forcing the government to explain the thinking behind their decisions and to react to events as they change. We believe the best place for that is in the House of Commons.
Thank you. We have no further questions registered at this time. Back to you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Merci beaucoup.
Concludes the press conference. Thank you so much for attending.